Welcome back to the Mind Goals podcast, hosted by yours truly, Siobhan Higgins, sport and performance psychology consultant, professional soccer player, and yoga instructor. Today, I'm super excited to introduce our special guest, who is my first football player. First football player, Emmanuel Ellerbee.
What's up, guys? How y'all doing? Appreciate y'all for having me.
I am happy we could make this happen.
For sure.
Thankful you could be here.
Yes.
I want to start off by telling everyone kind of how we met. Mm-hmm. We've known each other for like a few months.
Yeah.
Right?
But we have a lot of close mutuals who I've known for years.
Really. Oh, really?
Yeah. I mean, you think about Will and John, your Seven Lakes people. And
oh, yes.
And you talk about Oak Forest people and stuff like that. So, yeah.
Yeah. Our paths seem to have crossed, but like now they did. Yeah. And from yoga and from Cullen. Well, for me, I went to that one specifically because he likes it. Mm-hmm. And I'm a yoga instructor now, but that's my place that I go to. So,
yeah, Cullen. Shout out to young Cullen Gillespie. He's older than me, my dog. Cullen, started going to Hina's class, the one that we go to. It's Hina Gandhi. He's a great yoga teacher on Wednesday mornings. And I remember, we're all a part of the fraternity/sorority of ACL tears.
Oh, yeah.
And so I remember Cullen I just randomly went to Hina's class. I remember Cullen, I came in, he was randomly there one day, and we were like, oh, snap, bro. Like, he's like, you like this song? I'm like, yeah, I like this song. So he would start just bringing people, and then I was like, all right, let's continue to grow. And then the momentum started kind of building, and then now we have the Breakfast Club, basically, the Hina's Breakfast Club of yoga people, which is pretty cool, like creating community, right? Like that's what yoga's about, so it's kind of dope.
Yeah, I love that. And I actually thought that because I go to a couple others throughout the week, but I thought that Cullen had gone to that one and invited you, so y'all just happened to
randomly cross. Yeah, because I had just I used to go to I like working out in the morning, obviously training, just being so used to training and stuff like that. Is always used to you wake up, go get your training done, and then you do the rest of your stuff, especially in the off season. So that was kind of just my all season routine, and I always was last year going through the free agency process of kind of trying to transition it out. I was like, well, I need to kind of stick to my routine. And so I was like, I like morning yoga. There's another teacher's class I used to go to. And I mean, I like to go to her class in the evening time still. Inga says I love her class in the evening. Inga. But sometimes my schedule doesn't allow me to go in class in the evening. And sometimes I just try to get it out. So I randomly kind of waltzed into Hina's class, and then it was all right, it was cool. And it worked. And then Cullen ended up being there. I had gone there a couple weeks, and then Cullen was there a couple weeks, and it was just oh, snap. And we just both kept coming back. And then next thing you know, like I said, it's kind of transitioned to what it is now.
Yeah, I love that. And I love Inga and Hina. Those were two of my facilitators during my program.
Well,
so I was really thankful to get to learn under them and watch them. And they're really great role models as well.
I like them too because I think Hina, the cool part, I remember Hina's when I first went in there. I think, there's so many different types of styles of yoga, right? And I think there's kind of all yoga teachers come from different walks of life. And I think there's a certain, appreciation, I feel as an athlete who was doing yoga. I would always do yoga. Janae and I, who went to middle school together and whatnot. And we, years ago, we did a podcast. We were talking about that. And I always talked about it's a good, yoga was always a great recovery workout for me, right? I'll be able to, with soccer, in the same way that it's to be able to stretch your ligaments. It's a way for your body to get better without having to take all the pounding and stuff on it. Mm-hmm. And I remember I went to Hina's class, and she was like, oh yeah, I do yoga for a lot of athletes. And I found out she ended up actually training some of my former teammates and stuff like that. I was like, cool. Wow. So it was cool for me to go to her class because I felt it was a teacher who didn't have me doing I don't know, inversion that I didn't need to do, and kind of mess up my spine. It was kind of all right, you overuse your legs and your glutes and your hip flexors from all that running. Let's really focus on those things. And so I feel when we went to her class, I always felt I felt better after yoga. I did a hard workout, but I felt I recovered. Yeah. Whereas sometimes you go to a lot of, and I think Inga does a great job of that too. So, and sometimes hers are a workout as well. Mm-hmm. But there's certain times you go to other teachers' classes, they might not necessarily, they might be, a hit workout flow, or they may be doing a kamikaze type yoga style style where they actually doing weights and stuff, and it's I just came to stretch. I just came to stretch, or hella push-ups, rocket push-ups.
Oh yeah, I've heard that that's difficult.
Yeah,
and there's different types as well. But yeah, I like that you mentioned that there's every yoga teacher is different, so it's kind of tailored. So that's why I'd say try them all out, and I had to do that during my training program too, so I know what I do like, what I don't like, and then how I want to teach. But especially for athletes, I started as well because of soccer. soccer to go to recovery. And then I was like, actually, this is kind of cool. I'm connecting like mind and body. It's not just recovery. But I really like it. Super beneficial, but it's cool that we crossed paths because of it.
Facts.
Yeah. So I want to get to know you a little bit better.
Perfect.
I mentioned that, well, I don't know. I think I didn't. Yeah, you're the first football player to be on the podcast. So Emmanuel went to Rice University. Could you backtrack and tell me where you went to high school and how you chose Rice?
Yeah. So I guess born and bred in Houston from A-Leaf.
Nice.
Went to Strake Jesuit for high school. And so that's how we knew a lot of people because we used to be in the Katy district. And that's how I actually knew Cullen. So funny story about how it's funny that I feel like he should be here in this interview.
I know.
Because maybe
I've been
like
trying.
like this needs to be like a part 2 because my whole entire way of going to Rice is low key like his villain origin story of like why he didn't like me for like 10 years.
Really?
Yes. So
he has to answer.
Yeah. Okay. So basically what happened was, so I was like, me and him both were playing linebacker. We're the same. I think we're all the same class, right? Coming out of high school. And so, obviously you're doing the recruiting circuit and all that stuff. And I thought going to school, I didn't know what Rice was. Like I had no clue anything about Rice. Rice is here in Houston. Didn't know about it. Didn't know about West U. Didn't know about River Oaks. Outside of was like the thing that you see on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. That was a Houston version of it. Like I was like, oh, that's what River Oaks is. Like, oh, that's like the Bel-Air of Houston. Like I was like, I didn't know much about it. And I remember we played one game. We played Katy there my sophomore year. We played them. Opposed to us playing at Rhodes Stadium that we have. They had us actually play at Rice. And that was the only time I had actually like been to Rice or anything like that because we played Katy there. And then we ended up losing that game. Never went back to there. And I was like, all right, cool. But they ended up coming in and they offered me and getting recruited. And I didn't really, like I said, I thought going to college, I thought you were supposed to go far away from home. Like I thought going to college was like, okay, I thought I was going to either be in Florida somewhere or on the West Coast in Cali or like somewhere up northeast, like in the corner of the country. Like I thought I was going to be far away from home. I didn't really think I was going to go to school in Texas for college. I didn't really want to go to A&M, UT wasn't recruiting me. So I was like, okay, if I'm going to go play somewhere, I'm going to play at a big state school somewhere else. Rice came knocking and I didn't want to go. Like first they offered me, I was just kind of like, all right, cool. Like it was like,
thanks.
It was thanks. It was kind of like, I hate to relate it like this. Like you ever have somebody like you and it's like, all right, cool. Like I appreciate it. But it's kind of like I'm kind of cool. And that's how it was at first. But I ended up committing and ended up going there. But the funniest part was that when I got offered, the reason why I brought up Cullen was that they had told us, I think there was like in our recruiting class out of Houston, they were looking at like 4 linebackers, or in their recruiting class on their board or whatever. They had like 5 linebackers that were looking at, and they were like, we have 2 offers. We've offered, I think they did it in tiers. Like they told me that they had one guy that they offered, and they said we've offered 4 guys, and the first 2 that commit are the guys we're taking or something like that. And so I was like the first 2 of the ones that they offered. So they offered me and they offered somebody else. And so the one other guy, he committed on the spot. But I didn't know this at the time. Like I didn't know this.
Oh, okay.
But long story short was that Cullen was being told that they were like, yeah, we're waiting for this, but we got you an offer coming soon. They were waiting on me
to say yes or
no, or they were waiting on somebody else to have an offer, but they were like kind of stringing him along the whole entire time. And then they were like, so he started telling everybody, he's like, oh yeah, I have an offer coming from Rice. He said he was telling all his friends, like, I got an offer coming from Rice. And then all of a sudden, it was because this happened in the summertime, I committed. And then so I guess he got the note, you have rivals and all that stuff. So he got the notification or whatnot. It said something that I committed. And then he said, he called the coach and was like, oh, that the offer that I had wasn't there no more. Like the offer that thought he was going to get wasn't there no more. So he said that became his vendetta personal story against me. It's like, you're the one who stole my offer from Rice. But I always told him, I was like, I remember, so like my 3rd year, COVID year, I go and I sign with the Texans. And so Cullen is with the Texans at the time. So I come from Seattle, where I spent the first 3 years of my career, into Houston, and I signed. And so I signed on the P squad, and Cullen's there. And this is like during COVID. So both of us are, our lockers are like in the back, like because of COVID, they had to separate everybody's lockers. And everybody couldn't be in one with the same. So we had 2 locker rooms. Okay. So it was like one big locker room, and then we had like a subsidiary locker room or whatnot. And so Cullen was in the subsidiary locker room with me. I remember we see each other like one of the very first practices, and he's like, you don't know me, but I know you. He's like, I just want to let you know I don't like you. And then he just kind of walks off. I'm like, bro, what the hell? Like,
And do you know who he is at this
yes,
point?
Yeah. Like at this time, like I know because of just mutual friends and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like I kind of like
also
know
you can't miss him.
Yeah,
he looks like
yeah.
Thor.
Exactly. Like I had known about it. Like you kind of like like how it is in just any sport. Like you know about players like in like the same way as like you do well and they do well, but not in the same thing. And so like I had known about him. He was like you don't know me. He was like, oh, I know you. And he's like you stole my offer from Rice.
Oh.
And he was like, and he just kind of gave me like a little mean bug. And I was like, granted, like I said, it was my first day there. I think I signed them like week 3 of the season. And it was my first day there. And I just bust out a laugh. I was just like, and he was just like, and he just like Cullen being Cullen was just like hilarious. Cause I was just like, at the time I was just like, all right, like, okay, I guess. But at the same time, like knowing him now is like, but that's so funny. Cause it's exactly something he would definitely say. Just going to me and be like, you don't know me, but you stole my offer from Race, and then just walk, give me a V-Bug and walk off. But it's so funny now because it's just like,
if you know him.
that's knowing Cullen, like knowing Cully, but that's how he is. But yeah, so yeah, that's a little bit about me. And so I ended up not really, like I said, I didn't end up wanting to go to Rice. I ended up going to Rice and committing to it. But I would honestly say like, what they say, like the saying is like, man plans, but God orchestrates the steps and stuff like that. Like, hindsight 2020, me and Cullen talked about this the other day. It was like he ended up going to A&M and stuff like that, and I went to Rice. But I felt like me going to Rice was like the best thing that could have happened that I didn't even anticipate. Right, like me being from Houston, going to Houston and stuff like that. When I think for me doing stuff when it talks about like my foundation, like I started a nonprofit and Bees Believers and all the things we're able to do in the city of Houston with high school students and stuff like that. Those connections were like really started during my time at Rice. I was able to major in engineering and do that and the connections that I have from there and being able to just be able to be supported and having the teachers and the staff that I don't know if many of the universities, if I would have been supported as much as I would have. I can't say right now. I can't say, you know what I'm saying? I can only say from what I've heard from other people and stuff like that and based off of my experience, right?
Yeah.
But I can say like at Rice, it was really cool, like the amount of stuff that they were able to put in front of me. Don't get me wrong, there was a lot of challenges that were there that I had to go through as well. Mm-hmm. But I think hindsight 2020 was like, I was kind of given that opportunity and I just ran with it and made the best of it. And, whether it's a testament to Rice, a testament to myself, a testament to my, mentors and stuff like that for continuously pushing me. I think it's all of us, like that whole entire jumbo pot together and like in unison. But yeah, Rice did a lot of cool things for me. And, I was able to go and graduate on time in my 4 years and then go and play in the NFL and right out of college, like straight. I ended up missing graduation because of that rookie minicamp. Oh. And, I never. Yeah, exactly. Right. Like I was like, I remember like the lady was like, I was undrafted. So I was an undrafted free agent. She was like, you can miss rookie minicamp to like go to your graduation. I was like, bruh, I can walk next year. I was like, I want to go do this. So yeah, to be able to like, I was like, I have the piece of paper, which like the graduation ceremony is more like a hoopla, right? Like that's just a ceremony. I was like, as long as I have the piece of paper, I'm straight. And so me having the piece of paper and then also being able to go into the league and then have a career within there and, play, 5 years and then come out. Yeah. Beautiful thing.
That's dope. And I want to talk about your transition from college into the NFL because I personally don't really know how that works. And you mentioned you played for Seattle, then the Texans. Yeah. Are those the only two teams you played for?
So, so like I started off, so my transition from college was that, they have the NFL draft, right? That's when people get to know him, they walk off the stage and stuff like that. Yep. I never got a call. Well, I technically got a call, but I didn't hear my name get called on the thing. So I was undrafted. So after they have the draft come in, there's like each team picks up like 15 guys that are college guys that they would have like if they had like they didn't draft, but they want to have them on the team and have them come to camp and try out for the team. So I was one of those guys. So I ended up going.
What's that called?
Undrafted free agent.
Undrafted free agent.
Yeah, UDFA is the acronym for it. Undrafted free agent.
Got it.
And so I was an undrafted free agent. So I ended up going to Atlanta and playing there as an undrafted free agent. Signed with them. Go ahead.
What's in Atlanta with the Atlanta team?
The Falcons.
Okay, got
my
it.
bad. My fault. So
I'm like, is there a camp there? I don't know.
Yeah, my bad. The Atlanta Falcons. Apologies. Yeah. So I signed as an undrafted free agent to the Atlanta Falcons in 2018. Went there and they have camp, so it's like normal training camp the same way. For most sports, and ended up going there and having a pretty good preseason. But the nature of the business is you can be it's always to be the best player or whatnot. And I ended up getting cut, but I didn't make it to being a free agent. I ended up getting claimed off the waiver wire by the Los Angeles Chargers. Okay. And so I remember I got cut by the Falcons. They processed it the next day. They sent me home. I was like at home for like 8 hours. and then, or like not 8 hours, maybe like 12 hours or so. And I went to church the next day, and then I found out that in the middle of going from brunch, leaving church, that my agent had called us, was like, hey, pack your bags, you need to go to LA. They were going to call you a flight. So then I went to play with the Chargers. I played with them for the first 6 weeks of the season. Then I ended up having, back then they didn't have this thing called elevation. So like if you needed like they have roster limitations. So like if a person gets hurt, you have to basically like void, either you have to put them on IR, or if you wanted to bring somebody up to like replace their roster spot, you had to either cut somebody and sign somebody else to a new contract before they had this thing called elevations, where you can just like sub in a guy for like a game if you have like a late injury.
Yeah.
And so I ended up getting cut again because of an injury thing. One of our running backs had a hamstring thing that was messed up. So they ended up having to use my roster spot because they wanted to bring one of our other running backs up for the game. And so they ended up cutting me. But another team was looking at me the whole time, and that was the Seattle Seahawks. And so when you get released, you have like 24 hours where your contract goes to the waiver wire, and then you can get picked up. And so I got picked up from the Falcons to the Chargers, and now I ended up getting picked up from the Chargers to the Seahawks. And so I ended up in Seattle for 3 years. That's when I tore my ACL, my first ACL tore on my right leg, and then sat out a season there, came back, played a little bit, then ended up signing with the Texans on their P squad. That was a 2020 COVID season. And then ended up going back to Atlanta the next season and signing a 1-year deal and playing with them again one more season. Then I tore my ACL on my other leg, ended up having to rehab that the whole entire offseason, but ended up sitting out the next season, and then played 1 year in the the XFL with the Houston Roughnecks, and then I called it after that.
When did that finish? I think I saw you were playing last year, right?
Yeah, last year. Yeah. So last year I finished. This time last year we finished it. Then I went into the off season again, trained and kind of got ready and did things. We're trying to see if I was gonna get picked up, get called. Never got a call, and so yeah.
Is that I don't know if it's like, I know it kind of sucks to talk about maybe, but whatever. If you don't want to talk about it, that's cool. But
we sure.
Have you like officially made a statement that you are retired, or is this like you can technically train? Like I see you training. Is it kind of like there's still hope, and you're still, if you keep doing what you're doing, someone could pick you up, or 100%. Your agent could find something.
Exactly. Yeah, I think every athlete. I don't know. You probably can talk about this, right? Because you had your ACL, right? And that kind of really put your career on a pause. And I think it's like it's a lot different versus like when you're a professional and you're older versus when you're like in school, right? Because like,
let's talk about that.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, because like when you're a professional, it's like, bro, this is your job. You know what I'm saying? It's like nobody is like, we're in school. It's like, okay, you can sit out this season, but come next season, you got to be at it again. Whereas this one, you can sit out a season and then next season come and they're not thinking about you because there's another group of people that are coming out around and stuff like that. And so I think like, I don't know. Yeah, I feel like it's you have that transition period, right? Like you try to figure out, and I think like, you talk about all the stuff that you're going through and you talk about like just kind of like your podcast and stuff like that. It's hard, it's interesting to figure out. But yeah, I always say just like, to answer your question is like, I feel like I'm training to say like, if a team called me last week to go play in the
hypothetical?
UFL. No, this actually happened. Okay. A team called me last week to go play. And I was like, oh, I'm ready to go. Like I'm in shape or whatnot. And I was like, all right, cool. It didn't work out for me to go play with that team because of other things. But I still have in shape. Like they called my agent. They're like, hey, what is he looking like and stuff like that. And I was like, nah, he was like, he's in shape. And I sent him, looked at me and everything like that and was like, oh no, he really is in shape. Like I constantly stay in shape. So it's kind of like one of those things where it's like, if
you wanted to, you could.
Exactly. Which
and
is
there.
And that's kind of like, I talk about it with one of my mentors all the time, and my mental health stuff is like always having that option, right? Like just being able to put yourself in the opportunity to have the option, which is all you can really prepare for, right?
Stay ready.
It's just stay ready, right?
It's basically like you're probably in your off season anyway. It's like being in off season, constantly waiting. You have to be at your peak performance because if someone calls you and you gotta go, and you have to be ready.
Facts.
Okay, I feel that.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like question I asked you was like, you probably know, it's like when you're playing, like, you're playing soccer and stuff like that, and you're playing overseas, like, I know you're probably trying out for different teams and stuff like that, or you like in between teams, like, don't you just like what I'm saying? Just like having that mentality, like I gotta like,
oh yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, don't you have that sometimes?
yeah. And it's also like it's a grind time because if you aren't signing with that team, maybe you're trying to sign with another one, or like your agent's already sending film and they're already still looking at you. So you go home in the off season, but you're just training because you need to be top shape for preseason of the new contract.
And so that was like the thing that I learned really I said like year 3. Yeah, like really just being my first time being a free agent in the off season. Like my first, like I didn't really, at first at the time I didn't realize it, but it was like I was real fortunate. Like I really stayed on a team throughout my first 3 years before my contract really kind of dropped.
Yeah.
And I was a free agent for a long time, which was like really crazy because that's not, for me to be undrafted, for me to be able to have that long tenure and being with the team for that long before having like a free agent offseason was not there. But that 1 year that I was a free agent all the way up until the first day of camp of the next year really taught me about like that same thing of just like you having to stay in shape on your own and being a professional athlete versus being in school, right? Like I think that's like where a lot of us as athletes really struggle with transitioning, right? Is like when you're a professional athlete, right, it's really up to your own self, right? Like you got to do your rehab. You got to do your own type of things. Like you're not in, you're playing overseas and you're not living with the team overseas. You're back at home. So it's like the coach, you can send them updates, but the coach is not going to be hounding you in the same way it's in school where it's like, and you're also surrounded by your teammates every single day. Like when you're a professional athlete, like everybody goes back to their homes, like where they like have their off-season places are at, and they're spending time with their loved ones and their family members because you spend so much time during the season with your teammates. That being a professional athlete, and I think that kind of helped. Like this also, I think, airs into the identity type thing. Is that when you're a professional athlete, it is a lot of times lonely, right? Because you just really working on yourself, and you're really trying to do that, and you're not having people like be on top of your head the same way. Like every level, when you go from like middle school to high school to college, then the pros, you get a little bit more independence for your career. Like you have to be the one driving the force of it.
Definitely.
And so like, for me, like just talking about just transitioning in general, I found out that when I had a routine and kind of just continue to stay on my like working out and stuff like that, like it helped for my mental health. Just kind of gave me from like, all right, bro, I'm not playing. Like I might not be playing right now, but I know one thing is that when I work out, endorphins release and I feel good and I feel better about myself and all that type of thing. Like, and it's a challenge, right? Like everything those challenges, the workout has is a challenge. Just allow for me to be able to be like, more in tune and more ready to go. Just, I feel like overall for my performance of just not even like on the field stuff, just off the field, ventures and things that I'm doing too.
Good. No, that's good. I'm glad that it seems like you've figured it out. It's sink or swim out there, especially in the pros. Like, again, no one's on your ass. Some people maybe like one or two, but it's up to you. And in the end, like you are in charge of yourself and you have to make your own regimen, like we mentioned. So you have to stay disciplined. It's a lot of growth because you are on your own a lot of the time. I mean, it's your family members, maybe a significant other, a best friend. But again, once we get older, like they have their own lives too. They're going to work. Like, they can't just attend to us. So, I mean, you got to pick up some hobbies, got to diversify your workout schedule too. So you do that. I think that's pretty cool. Yeah.
Facts. Can't be doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
Body gets irritated with it fast.
Yeah. How old are you?
27.
When's your birthday?
November.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I asked. I'm 28 because you mentioned like knees and like we're getting older and like I know that there's like some young kids coming through and like it's just the reality. I mean, again, our age isn't even like super old. Like people retire still like mid 30s, but also it's like time where you think about like family, kids, like we want to be able to be mobile. And I know that you can get surgeries and obviously repair yourself, but come time, like I don't want to be.
Oh, yo, you want to talk about pains of bodies and stuff like that? We could figure that. Okay, so I have a question. So
yeah,
definitely. All right, so you talk about knees, and this is kind of cool because we're talking about diversifying workouts, and then you're also a yoga instructor. So yeah, like I agree. Like I think. You talk about like a lot of, I'm careful how I say this, like, I think it's young kids, like in the way that sports are going these days, like for instance, like you can play, don't get me wrong. Like I think, well, let me first preface it by saying this, like being able to play sports professionally is the dopest thing, right? Because you're getting paid handsomely to do a child's game, right? Like if you think about it in the context of that, right? But also at the same time, you are putting your body to the tip top shape so that you can perform this at a very high level or whatnot right there, right?
Yeah.
But the thing about your body is like anything in life, it has a cycle. Yeah. And there's parts where in a prime and then we're what's the name? And you're right. Like I mean, I guess the question is, I think it's, when you talk about football, it's a lot different because football's such a violent game, right? Like it's the only sport that's 100% injury rate. Like if you play football long enough, you're going to get hurt. Like it's not, it's because you're literally throwing your body at somebody else, like, and hitting you're making contact every single time, right? Whereas like, other sports, you will have like soft tissue injuries, and that's for exertion for sure. You can definitely get hurt in those other ones, but you're not really hitting somebody else. Like you're not really contacting with other people outside of hockey, which is a whole nother animal because they're doing that on ice, and then rugby too. But so like outside of those contact sports, right? Like you don't really have those. But I think the thing is like I've seen like a lot of people talk about it as like people talk about quality of life. Like I think especially humans are living longer, right? We're doing all these improvements in modern, medicine, and we talk about what we're eating and stuff like that. Like, having a career now is not, I think we're getting away from that age old of just one career and then I'm done. I work for 30 years and I die at the age of 60, right? People die at the ages of 80. And then two, you want to still have like, if I play, like I'm 27 right now, and then say I retire at 30, right? Or say I completely finish playing at 30, that's 50 years still to figure out what to do with my life. And also being like, I need to have this body that I'm in, for those things. So, I think it's, if you can play the game for as long as you can, for sure, 100% try to, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, like you only get one body, and I know you have your knees and things that are going on. Like
same with you.
You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I got 2 scars here. It's like, that's why I do yoga and all that stuff. And it's like, just trying to make sure that you think about those things more. Like I think I had an injury that happened, when I was playing in the UFL that kind of made me really like kind of stop and think, was like, or the XFL with the Roughnecks, I was like, dang, bro, like if this injury happened, something, what's the name, a little bit more, it could have been bad. Like at the time I was really not tripping, and even to the same point. But I think as you get older, you start to think about those things because it's more like I've played a lot of football or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? I feel like, there's a lot of people that are doing that. Like you see people like Luke Kuechly, like they retired early, and a lot of people are retiring early and not playing, the 15, 16-year careers just because it's like,
it's so much on your body. And like you mentioned, like I love sport, don't get me wrong. I'm so competitive and I want to play as long as I can. But at some point I got to think about my future, and I got to think about like how I'm going to be living. And so, yeah, taking care of your body is super important.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, like my body feels great. Like I feel like I like to diversify my training and stuff like that. Like it's no doubt in my mind. Like I went and did some drills the other day. I was like, all right, for sure. Like I can go and and easily go run up and down on a kickoff, go and tackle a guy, knock him out, whatever needs to be done. You know what I'm saying? Like I completely stay in shape for that. But yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like being able to have your body stay in shape for those top parts, it's a hard thing to do. And, for the people who do get to play for a very, very long time, like it's very commendable because especially if they have like, you know what I'm saying? Like for you to be able to put your body through that whole entire thing and be able to make sure to keep it in the same way it's really hard. It's a challenge. Not a lot of people can do it.
Yeah, it's a lot of maintenance, taking care of yourself. And like, again, some people don't understand it, but whenever you are playing as a career or it's your job, like that's all you can really do is take care of your body. Like your body, you're playing, but you're also recovering. You're also going to these sessions. It's just like the behind the scenes. But
so much behind the scenes. Like I remember when I came in, I kind of had like a routine when I was in college, and I didn't realize how crazy I could take it until I got into the professional level. When I got in around like some Hall of Famers, like guys that I had played with that are easy, like first ballot Hall of Famers, and I started seeing them like
what they do,
like literally watching them as they did. Like we used to go. My rookie, so my rookie year, when I was in Seattle, I was playing, and our linebacker who we had there, Bobby Wagner, is definitely a first ballot Hall of Famer guy. Has had so many Pro Bowls, so many All Pros. But we used to have like a routine. Like every week, we would come in. Like I was hip to yoga and stuff like that. But he would be like, all right, bet. Tuesday's recovery day. All right, Tuesday we're gonna show up to the facility. We're gonna get this little workout in, and this is on top of just our normal practice stuff and our normal weights and stuff like that. So most teams, you have practices. You practice on Tuesdays, a mandatory off day league wide. So pretty much everybody has Tuesdays off. You practice Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, walk through Saturday, game day Sunday, recovery lift Monday, off Tuesday, start the week again, right? So that's just our normal base. And then in there, you're going to throw in 2 lifts. You're going to do like an upper body lift, and then you're going to do a full body lift, right? So that's like our normal schedule. But on top of that, we would have like a whole maintenance routine that like Bobby had like done for his years, and he would tell us about it and be like, all right, come on, pull up to me with this. All right, come on me here. This was here. And so as a rookie, you just, just following along or whatnot. So like we would, Tuesdays we would show up early to the facility, which was our mandatory off day. We would show up early on top of whatever else like work you had to do, or like whatever extra work we get in. We'd all come in and we'd do like a group workout. So we'd do that. And then Wednesdays after practice, we'd all go to do yoga. Then on Thursdays after practice, we'd all have our either like massages and routines and stuff like that. Friday would be like, okay, get out of here, get some little rest or whatnot, but still do some type of like, we would all do like we had like this cold tub or hot tub routine that we would like, all right, everybody would go do that. But it was so crazy because it was like something that was started it wasn't like any mandatory or anything like that, but it was just kind of like a follow the leader type deal. And organically, when I say like we had a little cohort, and that whole season we would just, all of us would just go and we would do that. And that happened for like the 3 years that I was there, like even in the off season, because all of us, like I ended up living in Seattle throughout the off season. We'd always be like, all right, yo, what you up to? All right, come on, let's go do this. All right, let's go to yoga here. Let's go to do this or whatnot. And so, yeah, that maintenance. And then that's when I really started figuring out as I got older, because we would train against each other and compete and like do like competitive stuff the same way that y'all be training at the gym and stuff like that. And the same way we'd be going to yoga, we would do that in the off season as well. And I started to realize like, it was like you talked about, when you get to the professional level, it's not, you spend almost just as much time on maintenance of your body as you do on actually just doing the drill. Like you spend so much time warming, like for instance, like you think about sprinters, like you warm up for probably about 30 minutes, 40 minutes for a 10-second race. Yeah. And then spend another 40 minutes just warming your body up because you're trying to get maximum output. And that's what it was when I started realizing like, oh, yo, that's like kind of how it was. Like we get to the game day come in, I get to the facility 4 hours early. Yeah. And start my routine. Like I have a whole entire routine. I got to get the cold tub this. I got to go outside. I got to get stretched by this person here. I need to have my wrist taped by this time and then go do this. I got to like take myself through all these things. Yep. So that when you get to the game, you just free flowing. You're not thinking about, okay, I got to check all these marks. So exactly. Yeah, that maintenance part is very crucial, especially talking about being in the
So much behind the scenes. I love it. Like, especially you mentioned you have like 4 hours before it. And was that kind of always there for you?
Yeah. So like when you're in the NFL, like the routines of it is kind of like set. Like every coach kind of makes like a schedule and then they kind of keep to that. Like every game, you know what I'm saying? Like it'll be like, all right, like this is the time. Like if it's a home game, it's like, all right, everybody has their set schedule, like their set routines for home games. Same you probably have like if you have a home game routine versus your away game, you have your away game routine. So they try to keep it where everybody can keep their routine. Like that's one thing coaches are really big about is like if a guy has a routine, I ain't messing with his routine at all. You know what I'm saying? Because they want you to be your best, you know what I'm saying, for the game.
I love that. Okay, cool. And also because like at the pro level, again, I guess you like you have your schedule. We have our schedules too, but they're not going to baby you. Like do what you want in this time, be on time, make sure you're ready. Those are like the two big asks, and then obviously perform to your best ability. But it's so fun to see like everyone doing their own different thing. Yeah. And it's funny what people do to get ready and get locked in for the game. Like, yeah. Do you have any weird, this is a fun part for me because like sports psychology consulting is like I'd help someone like create a pre-performance routine that works for them. So even if it's like superstitious, we try to stay away from that. But like if it's working for you, it's working for you. Yeah. What, like walk us through a game day? Yeah, walk us through a game day. All right. So, all right. Usually get off the bus. Oh, meals. Okay, start with food. It depends on what kind of game it is. Like if it's a night game, I really try to eat like very little. Like if it's a night game, I'll probably eat like a light food or something like that, like something grilled, some type of like I usually do a grain, a protein, and some type of veggie. Like it's literally a grilled chicken, some type of rice, maybe a little bit of a roll, and then some bites of a salad. Then I'm drinking all the time because I sweat like crazy. Like I'm a heavy sweater. Like I try to like when we're in yoga, I literally try to go by myself in a corner. Because I'm just like, I don't want nobody near me, bro. Just because I feel like but that's how I am in the game too. Like I'm easily like you're normally a sweater.
Oh, 100%. Like I'm a 2 uniform guy. Like I usually have to, I have to get 2 uniforms, like 2 pair. Cause especially in those early fall games, like when it's coming off the end of summer, I would always have to have like, they would always, especially at Rice, they would have a second jersey ready for me at halftime for me to change into, and socks and shoes, all that stuff, because I would just soak out all my things. But so I'm hydrating hella. Then I start my playlist. I'll start probably with, I have like Jay-Z Somewhere in America is always playing when I get off of the bus.
Really?
Yeah.
You like time that, or it's
I
like,
have
all right,
to.
off the bus.
As soon as the bus
Wow.
gets there, I play that song when I'm walking down the steps of the bus.
Okay.
Then I get into the locker room. I'm typically listening to some type of just like low key like R&B or something like that. And then I go in and I'm listening to rap. Like it changed from R&B into rap. And then something about sicko mode is like I always come out onto the like when I start onto the field, it's like I'll warm up, I'll stretch. So like after I come in, I'll take a hot tub, I'll get in the hot tub, I'll warm up in the hot tub or like a hot shower. If the facility we at don't have a really good hot tub, I'll take a hot shower and I'll stretch throughout that time. So do like all my just kind of like normal static stretches. Then I'll get on a stretch strap, do that. After I finish the stretch strap from there, do my ankle mobility. Then I will go out to the field to start doing my pregame warm up, like my own individual pregame warm up. And right before I go on the field, I say a quick prayer. And then the first song I listen to right before I do my first jog, I do like a lap around the field, is I play sicko mode.
Nice.
And so I'll play sicko mode. Because it's like whenever you like when you walk out into the stadium, it's like sun is down, freezing cold. And every single time when I was in Seattle, it'd always be cold whenever those games would happen. So those will always be like, and then it's also like very overcast there. So it'd be like sun is down, freezing cold. So then that song would play. So then I listen to that song and that just ended up becoming my routine. Then I just start doing my drills, play through my playlist, come back in, I'll get dressed, then get ready to go out with the team to do our pregame warm up with my team on position group, then come back in. And after the second time I'll come back in, I'll always have two, like those electrolyte shoes. I used to always eat two of those electrolyte shoes. And then we have I'll get my Bible and I'll read my 3 verses, Psalms 140, Matthew 123, or excuse me, not Psalms 140. It would be Galatians 6:9, Matthew 1:23, and Philippians 4:13. I'll read those 3, and then we do our shower power, which is like the group prayer in the shower. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
Nope.
Like we have this thing called shower power.
Okay.
And it's when everybody goes in the shower and because it's like the only room that can hold everybody in a circle.
Yeah.
So everybody goes in the shower and everybody says a brick prayer. Go do that, and then after that it's game time.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's probably
you got my adrenaline going thinking about all that too.
That's a lot. Cool. I had to go back through that as a listener, and I had to start going. It's like, wow, and it's literally that was the same routine that I had.
I love that I saw that you were like, okay, where am I? I'm on the bus. Close your eyes. I love it because this isn't a routine that people have told you to do. This is that you know yourself, you know what you need to prepare, and this is yours. And everyone's gonna be so different, but it's everything from like the mobility of your ankles, stretching, like good. Because you should be doing that. You should be like warming up, and you can't just hop onto a field or just like the team warm up isn't good enough, you know?
Right.
And
Facts.
Then your playlist again is great. I love your individual warm up. Like this is cool. It's really good. I'm glad you shared that.
Preach.
Yeah.
Preach.
I wanted to talk about. You mentioned you have your foundation. I am not familiar with it, except I know you're having a camp very soon.
Yeah, June 29th.
Awesome.
Yes.
Hope maybe I'll make a little guest appearance. Fingers crossed.
Hopefully.
But no, tell me about your foundation and the thought behind it, what you're doing right now, and what your goals are with it.
Yeah. So my nonprofit started my 4th year in the league. Okay. It's called Bees Believers, and so it's a play on my last name, Ellerbee, but it's an acronym that stands for Be Exceptional in Everything. Wow. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to get students interested in STEAM, so science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, but in conjunction with athletics, and it's for underserved. And it's for really just any students in the Houston area, but we do have a special focus for students that are underserved and underrepresented who might not necessarily get those opportunities. But yeah, so we do, and our program is mainly for high schoolers. We're branching out this year and really trying to get more middle school programming and starting to get some of our young believers to be able to kind of get into the programming. But and so what we do is we host programming at Rice. So we have athletic programming and academic programming, where we really just try to expose kids to the different career paths that are involved with having a STEAM degree or a STEM degree, science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics degree, and trying to show them about, like, I feel like, you talk about like things that we do professionally, right? So like Siobhan is a soccer player, right? And everybody knows you as that, right? Like since high school, they've known you as that or whatnot. But again, we've already talked about, like, there's a time where it ends, right? Like, you not going to just be Siobhan, the soccer player. And then two, it's like, bro, you going to be a mother one day. You're going to have your kids and your babies. You want to just be known as, she played soccer, like, Same way as Emmanuel was like, yeah, it was a time and point where it was like cool to be Emmanuel, the football player, but at the same time, you go and you mature, and that was one phase of your life, and there's another season and the next step. And so, yeah, B's Believers is really just trying to be able to help those, those kids that, like, I just feel like that it's a youth. Like, I think we get sold a dream about becoming that, but we don't also, like, people don't really tell us what to think about after that, right?
Yes.
And we talked about the transition part.
Yeah.
And so the cool part about it, and I think you talk about sports and the difference between, I was talking about professional and versus school, is that you are always with those group of people. Like, you go from 6th grade soccer to 7th grade soccer, then to 8th grade, then y'all all go to the same high school or whatever. So y'all are always with that friend group or whatnot. And so your identity really gets tied up into that. And I think when you talk about, like, things that influences, like, our kids growing up, like, we can go grab a random kid on the street and be like, yo, who's your favorite athlete? What's your favorite sport? And they tell us football. All right, who's your favorite player? I love Justin Jefferson, or I love CJ Stroud. They'll tell you that, right? Boom, in there. Okay, cool. What do you want to be when you get older? If they don't tell you, like, and it can't be anything in entertainment or anything sports, they might tell you what it is and be like, okay, who's your favorite person that does that? And it's sometimes it'll take them a second. They'll be like, but they don't name it out at the same time. It's basically trying to be able to show them, it's like, no, we want you to become the next such and such, be the Madden cover artist. But again, like, everybody who was a Madden cover artist was that, but then had to go do something after becoming a Madden cover artist or whatnot, or the NBA or whatever medium it is that their sport that they're playing. And so trying to get them to, I think, like, when you talk about that transition and you talk about finding out things that are interesting you, like, I know for you, like, you talked about, like, you have 4 jobs and you talk about all the things that you be doing.
Yeah.
And I feel like when you finish, like, soccer, like, you just, you know what I'm saying? Like, you have so many things that you're exploring. Like, you're like, oh, I know Siobhan, the soccer player, and she was dope. But it's like, there's more out there. The same way, like, I know Emmanuel, football player, he's dope, but there's more to Emmanuel in the same way.
Yeah.
And so what I'm trying to do with our foundation is really give kids that opportunity to start, like, churning over those stones and kind of start looking at that, because opposed to it being, which I feel like a lot of times, and it was another reason why I really started it, was that I felt like a lot of times I noticed with a lot of my friends from either high school or really in college was, like, when that sport started to end, it was kind of like that identity. Like, okay, I said I was doing this. It was like, I've been like luckily enough to be able to have this shadow or this kind of cape or this mask of being a athlete put on top of me, but now I can't do that every day, right? Like, whether it be because of injury, because of, not being able to play no more due to, skill level or whatever it might be, what am I now? And it's like, you talk about, like, all what we're brought up and stuff like that, we always are talked about, we're always surrounded by sports, we're always surrounded by entertainment, but not those other things. So then it's kind of like, okay, what am I now that this sport is gone? And so that's really what B's Believers, and that's why the acronym is Be Exceptional in Everything. Like, so when you finish, we want you to be the dopest athlete you can be, but when you finish, now it's time for you to be the dopest surgeon or the dopest mental health consultant or the dopest engineer or whatever. It's like I said, we do a lot of stuff for STEAM, but also at the same time, like, if a student doesn't go to STEAM but they find out that they're passionate in something else, we're like, yo, that's a win, because at the end of the day, we're just trying to help them figure out what it is, which is just, I feel like, filling a need that I know that I needed growing up. And then I talk to my boys and my friends, like, that are girls as well too, and, like, everybody was like, nah, bro, we need, like, I wish I would have thought about this earlier, sooner, because when it happens, you don't know when it happens, especially when it comes to injury. You don't know when you're going to not play again and your last snap's going to be. And then you're just sitting there like, oh, snap. What do I do?
Yeah, it's people have identity crisis, and I've talked about this in a couple different episodes, but it's just so real. And then especially if it gets cut off due to injury or, for example, COVID. Some people that could have been there last year because they were like, you know what, a whole year, I don't know. I was already deciding if I was going to get a real job, not real job, but like start working in a different profession or continue this. And it was like, okay, you never know. And so I love everything that you just mentioned about the foundation, because there is a need for it. And for me, like, when I talk to athletes, and what I've been advised as well is, like, try to think of who Siobhan is other than a soccer player. Yeah, she's a soccer player, but again, and I've kind of identified these things, but, like, I'm also a coach. I also am a yoga instructor. I also love to write. I love to read. So, like, I have aspirations to publish work in the future, but, like, I do love soccer and I love playing, but I'm not just a soccer player, and it's not my entire life. Like, for a season it will be, or it was. That's, like, my full time, all the time, all eggs in that basket. But I'm also, 1, 2, and 3. I'm a sister, daughter, whatever, follower of Christ, all those things. And so we always, like, encourage athletes to kind of, like, do a little, I don't know, if you're thinking of like a web, like if this is Emmanuel and you're a football player and it's like you draw a line to it, you're here. What else do you like? Maybe you like music, maybe you like making music, maybe you like taking pictures. You're cool, photography, just like tapping into different hobbies to encompass all of who you are. And that way, like when one of those do, like if one does end, then you can kind of like pivot to another one. You're still more than just your sport. And don't get me wrong, like we're so competitive. We played at the highest level. This is like, it's important. And I'm never saying like, don't like take away from it and get into something else. No, like that's not me. I'm like your balls to the walls in this one thing, but also like, don't forget that you are something beyond your sport.
No, so facts. No,
it's good to tap in.
That's what, like and to just follow that up, like you said, like the thing I found out I love to do is cook. Like I love cooking. Like as a kid, like I was a fat kid, like growing up, like respectfully. I really was like, I was a little chubby boy, and I remember as like, there was one year where I didn't play sports. I forgot, like we weren't, my parents just didn't have me playing sports that year. And I remember it was like a real, like, it was kind of an interesting year because it was the first year I just didn't have what's saying, but as a kid, I didn't really think much of it. I just remember they're like, oh, we're not playing, like, you're not, like, you won't be playing football this year. And I was like, okay, it is what it is. Like, I was like, oh, it's fine. Like, I didn't really think much of it. But like in that same instance of like, you know, figuring out what those hobbies were or whatnot and really sewing into those things, like you know, that year that I didn't play, I ended up watching, like, I don't remember watching sports that much that year. I remember I watched like Rachel Ray's like 30-minute meals. And then so that one was like an eye-opening experience. Like, and that was just a simple thing that was there. And then again, like, I think that's the cool part that you talked about with your you know, your journey and your different like careers and stuff like that is like, I think that's what life is, right? Like you put all your eggs into one basket, but also life is a little bit of toggling, like a lot of like multitasking, right? Because we are going to wear so many different hats. Like all of us at one point, you know, who aspirations to have families are going to have like be that person that's a significant other and support them, but then also have to show up for ourselves and then show up for our careers. And so it's like, I remember when I was at Rice, I got my very first experience at really learning how to toggle, like, cause I was trying to be like, well, I know I want to go play in the league, but at the same time, I'm trying to get this engineering degree, which is like, I majored in civil engineering. So I'm like, dang, I'm trying to like, so I would be working hard to one and then one be failing. And then I'd be like, okay, now I'm going to work hard to the other one. But then at the end of the day, the thing I would tell myself was the same thing you just said, was that if I keep working, one of these is going to eventually pop, right? Or if I continue to put good stuff into it, while it might not seem like it, it will. And so that was like kind of the thing that I found out within there. Like that was my first experience of being like, oh, okay, like I know I want to do football and I want to go all balls to the wall and put my eggs in the basket. And I did. Like I sold out for that. Like I really did. And I got to play for a very long time. And I feel like I did that very, very right. But at the same time, it was also at the same, like being like, yo, this is what you said, like snapped at the innocent of a finger. COVID, like all of a sudden people were thinking like, oh, I'm gonna go play this, yada yada, but then their season ends, and if you're not like that number one person on the depth chart, then all of a sudden it's like you said, like you gotta go get a real, like you gotta go get a real job, like, and again, like not to say it's like not a real job, but like go get another type of career, like you can't just do that one because this is, you know, few and far between, and there's somebody coming to replace you all the time. So that's that transition part is tough, like for athletes. Yeah, and it is tough. So I mean, I don't think there's anything to like prevent that little crisis moment. It's just like, you know, nothing. I don't think you can. You can't prevent it, but it's good to like prepare. Like just know it's coming. And it doesn't need to be like this ominous cloud over your head. No, not at all. But like, just know, like, someday. I think even when you talk about it, like people don't, no matter what level it is, you have it. Yes. Like, I remember my friends talking about it when they left out of high school to go to college, and they're like, bro, I got finished classes, bro, and I just go home. Yeah, they didn't know what to do. They didn't know what to do. And I was like, okay. I was like, I'm at practice. But then I'm like realizing it like, yo, like that was what I'm experiencing now. They experienced all those years ago when we were going from, you know, all of us are playing high school sports, and then they just went to being, you know, they weren't doing college athletics, and they were just there for their studies. Then it was like, dang, they had to go through that transition and crisis there. And I feel like, no matter if you know, the best player on the team or the worst player of the team, nobody can tell you how much you love your sport, right? And that part right there is a huge transition. Like I've seen people who like, they might not have been the best on their team, but they really enjoyed that community and everything that came with being in that, like that sports team, that when it was taken away from them, they're like, oh, I don't know how to recreate that community. I don't know how to like there's nothing that fulfills me in the same way it is. And so, yeah, that transition, I think it's like you said, you can't stop it because it's going to happen no matter what. But I do think that we can like learn how to teach kids how to be able to be better prepared for it. I think we do such a great job, which is almost like a negative in some ways, is like teaching kids to go play sports and to really commit and being like, this is all you need to do. You need to sell out. You know, you got to be hungry, you know, D1, 100 miles an hour, you know, every single day you wake up, eat, sleep, you know, play your sport. But then we don't really do a great job of telling them, okay, you didn't make it, or your opportunity was not, this is how you press on with the other, or this is how you take all those lessons you learned from that sport and apply it to these other facets of your life. We don't do a great job of like teaching students how to, like, I feel like in my opinion of teaching kids like how to do that, and even adults, like, because I feel like a lot of old coaches, I feel like it's like a repetitive cycle, like they just end up coming in and they're like, all right, well, they'll be like, coaching saved me, and it'll be like, but you know, it just allows for you to have that connection back to sports. But it's like, did you really find out what you was outside of your sport?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or is it like you're filling a void? You know, did you really figure it out for yourself? Like, did you check that box? Like, is it completed for you? Like, did you get your fix? Or is like, how are you gonna, I mean, so that's why I get why people coach. I mean, I'm a coach too, but I coach like 5, 6, 7-year-olds, and I do it for fun because I love kids, and it's chill. There's no pressure on me. I'm not like, it's not a team. It's just like teaching kids how to play.
Yeah.
And then I realized like I've been around sports, honestly, everything I do, dude. Like yoga, I do it with athletes, and then I teach athletes as well. So coaching as well. I used to referee soccer just to like be around it, just because it's fun, and then watching it as well.
Yeah.
But dang, yeah, it's difficult.
Yeah, I say like all the time is like when they like you said is like you just getting your fix. Like somebody told me, one of my mentors, we were having coffee, and he told me this. He was like, you don't realize it, but he's like, who is your first love? And he like asked me, and I was like, what you mean? He was like, what's the name of like your first love? And like I put out this girl's name. He's like, bro, that's not it.
Yeah.
I was like, what you mean? He's like, your first love was football. He's like, and it was the most toxic relationship you were ever in, but you never realized it. It's like, what you mean? He was like, this is a sport that you love to the end. Like, and you think about it, like all of our relationships with sport, like no matter if you're an athlete, if you're an athlete and your relationship with your sport as an athlete is you love this thing to the end of earth, right? It doesn't reciprocate. It can't love you back. It can't do any of the 4 love languages back to you. It can't do acts of service. It can't send you gifts. It can't do any of those things. All the things that it does is whatever you put into it. And then it's kind of reciprocated with there. It doesn't love you unconditionally back. It really doesn't love you sometimes, right? You talk about injuries and stuff like that. People will say it doesn't love you back. And they say like a lot of times that people's first toxic relationship is really their sport, because you put all that time and effort into it with the idea that it's going to return off into it. And say you don't get it. Like say you make it to the championship round and you lose. Is there any type of, it's just heartache, right? Do you in the sport go to couples therapy and talk about how you should have won and how you worked all those hours on in and how the sport somehow should have gave you, instead of you getting, you should have got the championship no matter if the other team beats you? No, you just have to be like, it's on me. I got to work harder, right? Like that's a very toxic type thing to deal. And so it's just kind of like, when he told me that, it really kind of awakened my eyes and was like, wow, like you just, like in the same way that you have to heal from like a relationship and you have to like kind of go back and being like, all right, I need to see who I am outside of that, and then put myself together to make sure that when I go into the next one, I'm straight. It's the same way that I think a lot of athletes have to treat their relationship with their sport. Like once you finish your sport, take some time and completely isolate yourself away from the sport.
Yeah.
Figure out how you can almost recreate that feeling that your sport has given you and other stuff outside of it. And then introduce a sport back into your life, so then therefore it doesn't have so much of a hold on you or whatnot. That's like my solution, and I don't think that necessarily works for everybody, but like that's something that I was suggested to, and that was like granted to me, and I was like, wow. And it's kind of helped.
It's great advice, and like I've actually walked through probably all of those because I played pro, and then I came home, and then I got cut from a team. And so I was like, well, I could have jumped to another team in that moment, but I was like, let me take a second because I just had a bad like previous season. So I needed space. And at this point it was like, I could have just gone, but I didn't. And I stayed home. I actually got a job here, and I was like, you know what, maybe I am done. Like, maybe I'll just I always kept training. Like, I was always still in shape, but I was at that point where like I didn't want to watch soccer. People would invite me to play. I'm like, no, don't ask me. I'm not playing. Like, I was, literally been there. People are sending you stuff. You're like, I don't want to see it. You're like, unfollow, mute.
I muted
Everyone's
the NFL
like, where are
page.
you? Where are
there.
you? Where are you playing? Are you playing right now? And you're just like, oh, you're just like, leave me alone.
Don't talk to me about it.
And
how
like,
you doing? You would say, how's such and such doing? And they actually about a teammate from like another team. It's like, bro, I don't even play for that team no more, bro.
Yeah.
Like,
and you just, and like everyone does mean well, but you're just like, I don't want to talk. I don't want to engage.
Talk about it. Yeah.
You're so like put off from it, and it does suck. And it's kind of like, yeah, it's like a breakup at some point. And for me, like, I think it was in the summer, I ended up doing like social media for a referee group. And so I'm around like all these soccer players, and I was like, wow. Like I saw myself like videoing, and I was just like, looking at these girls about to go to college, like there's recruits here. And I was like, this is so cool. Like I love it again. Like I love watching it, and like people like seeing them celebrate made me feel joy. And I was like, dang, I do love this game. And so then I was like, well, maybe go play pickup. And I was like, okay, I still got a little touch. Like I can still do stuff. And then I started getting my master's. Long story short is like that kind of my journey of like healing from the sport, or like being heartbroken and then doing other things to kind of make myself get in a better headspace brought me back into like trying again. So I did play again, and I got injured, which like that's a risk that you always take.
Yeah. That's beautiful how you're able to like go out and then kind of recoup it and then come back. Cause like I feel like a lot of people like, I'm like listening to the story, I'm like, dang, bro, like I know for me personally, like I remember that. Like people be like, I remember when I got cut. So when I got cut that first time, Rice played U of H at Rice. And this was back in 2018, and I was at home for like that 12, 18 hours or whatnot. And my parents were like, hey, we're going to go to that Rice U of H game. Do you want to come? I was like, bro, no, I don't want to come. I just got cut from the team or whatnot. And then even then, like I remember after I tore my ACL the second time in that season, I ended up sitting out. Like I would not want to watch football games. Like I would check to see that my friends were doing well, and make sure my boys were doing good. I'd check on the score and be like, all right, bro, I was checking to see that they did well. Other than that, bro, I was like, bro, I don't want to see there or whatnot. And I remember like the time I was hanging out with a friend, and we literally be like, I'd be like, I don't care what we do, like just we not watching the football stuff. And even then I would still be checking like stats and scores, or like looking at injury reports and see like,
but it's on your own time.
It's on your own time. Yeah. Like it would be, but I would also at the same time be like, nah, bro, like the same thing. Like I was like disconnected, like, bro, I don't want to be near.
Yeah.
I don't need to be near.
You just need a break.
I needed a break. Yeah.
Bro, my parents would send me like memory 3 years ago, you won in a championship, and I was like,
and that's that's the worst part, bro. It's like you feel so bad because, or at least I personally did with my parents, especially like, cause like my mother and my father, like you could tell like for so long it was a thing that I just wanted, right? And it was just more like, he's interested in it. Like we want him to do well in it. He's interested in it. My dad was a football player. And my mother, she really didn't care about sports like that. She kind of, got into it because my dad was a football player, and then I was into it. And she was like, obviously after time starts going on, they like you, the further you go and progress, the more invested they are into it as well. Yeah. So it's almost like for them, they're seeing it bring you so much joy. So then they have joyous memories that are tied to it. And they're thinking like, oh, if you can only remember the good times, this will be so good. But it's like, bro, like respectfully, I remember the good times, and now you make me remember how much I'm not having those good times anymore. So you sending me these memories, and it's like they mean well. Like I always had that conversation with my mom and dad, like all the time. It's like, I know y'all mean well, but you don't understand. Like you sit up there like, oh man, don't you remember this time? Like, don't worry, it's gonna come back soon. It's like, nah, bro. When you sending that makes me think literally like, dang, bro, I don't know when this is gonna come back again. Like, bro, can't we go back to when it was just there? Like, can we go back 3 months ago when I was playing and we just, what I'm saying? Like you would say those things. And so, that's a word. Like, I feel like, again, that's a double-edged sword about having that identity of being like kind of soccer. It's like, or football or your sport. It's like for so long you want to be known for that because that's all you're doing all the time. And then when you get known for it, but now it's like, again, like a breakup, like now y'all not together. It's like, that's the last thing I want to hear you mention next to my name is that sport.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you know what I'm saying? Like you love it or whatnot, but it's a, like I said, the first love isn't a person. I think for many athletes, your first love really is your sport.
Yeah, I would agree. And it's a journey. It's such a journey, and it's beautiful. Whatever sport you're in, you learn so much. And we've mentioned this because the skills that you gain from being an athlete are they're transferable. Everything you do.
like when you talk about professional world,
Yeah.
like career stuff, oh my gosh, you can like when you're an athlete, especially if you're an athlete in a leadership role. Like I'm just say just an athlete. I'm not gonna say just all athletes understand it. If you're an athlete in a leadership role, right? Like if you have to have had leadership. You can't have just been like a rogue player, just kind of doing whatever you want, like being a prima donna. Now, if you're an athlete that had leadership qualities, especially if you're a captain of a team, I feel like when you go into the workforce, it's so different. Like, I mean, it's like you have so much of a leg up. Like, I go into the workforce and I think a lot of times, like for instance, like when I'm not doing my foundation, I guess my new professional career. It's like I'm an engineer and I work in environmental engineering. So like I transitioned fall back on my degree, using my degree, and now I do engineering.
Nice.
And so I'll be working on projects and like certain things that we have, and you'll be talking to people and you'll be like, wow, like sometimes when it's conflict resolution or just getting people to understand and convey ideas, like there's certain things that when you're an athlete, you can just recognize. You're like, oh snap. Like, okay, I know my teammate is a hothead, man. I know this person like to push people's buttons. So it's like, okay, I just need to make like, okay, I need y'all both to be, especially when it comes to football, because it's 11 guys trying to work on the same accord. And you trying to get a lot of times, like there's what I would call like personality traits of certain position groups. That's like, all right, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, or just certain teammates. And so you being knowing like you need everybody because they have a skill set that's there. Now it's like
how to get everyone to work together and use their strengths to bring and
then we can minimize our weaknesses, all that stuff. That thing right there in the like I feel like in the professional world, like corporate, whatever you call it, industry or whatever, that's not sports or whatnot. Not a lot of many people know how to orchestrate that.
No, they don't. And I applaud the people that do. And by no means do I think athletes are better than non-athletes.
No, yeah, exactly.
I have so much respect for people who never played sports because I'm sitting here thinking, how did you know how to be a leader? How do you know how to collaborate? How do you know how to work in teams? How do you know how to be professional and respectful and communicate? How do you do that? And then everyone, like getting an MBA, how do you know how to run a business? How do you know how to make it successful? How do you have that great resiliency? Like how do you have that work?
And I feel like it's like sometimes like if you have a person I feel like the athlete is you see it more, it's more readily available. I feel like it comes out more, it presents itself a lot more when it's an athlete. But again, to like seeing like a good leader and those standpoints that weren't in athletic positions, it's really interesting. But I feel like when an athlete, like you just see it because it's like you know it. Like you can kind of you see like. You ever have like a great leader? Like when you have like a great team captain?
Oh yeah.
Like you ever had like a really good team captain? Like when they speak, you just be like,
Jordan Jackson, shout out.
Okay, boom, Jordan Jackson. So shout out to Jordan Jackson. Like when Jordan would talk, Siobhan would be up there listening, like whatever you like, let's go to battle type ish. And so that same exact thing type ish is like when you in the workplace, like I think like athletes in leadership positions, they're able to do that. And you can be able to like, sometimes you see that happen presently. Whereas like sometimes I feel like a lot of people don't necessarily know conflict resolution, or like athletes, I feel like sometimes know how to, because you'll have like players, like you'll have like, for instance, even if you're on a basketball team, if you're on a soccer team, you have to work together, right? Like somebody might have beef with each other, but you got to put that aside because we got to get ready for this game. Like, all right, I understand that EA might have did this to you on this one right now. Can we please drop that right now? We handle it after the game and compartmentalize. A lot of people don't know how to do that. And the same thing, they'll let that stuff kind of spill over or whatnot. And so I've seen like my like live action scenarios of me dealing with teammates and just learning people really show up in my professional life as an engineer, and just working with projects of like learning how to deal with like crisis management, of not being able to be like, oh no, we're freaking out. Yeah. It's just like, bro, take a deep breath.
Yeah.
It's going to be all right. Let's figure out what's here. Okay. What are the issues what's the biggest fire? Let's put that one out first. Then let's make it really systematic. There's certain people that like when they get it, cause they've never been in a stressful or high pressure situation that like a lot of athletes get from just playing in their sport. They'll whatnot. They'll freak out.
Your brain's all foggy. You don't know. But again, like you mentioned, what's the biggest fire we need to put out, prioritize things. And then what can other people do to help? How can you delegate roles so that we can all finish this?
Exactly.
But first, take a breath.
Yes, and a lot of times people don't be knowing to just breathe. Like, but I mean, and me, high key, like I laugh at a lot of things I say because it's like I had to learn that too. Like I used to be for sure like Then I would tell you, like it took me like really understanding like what sports could provide for me. I was like, wait, hold on. Do the same things you do whenever you're in like you're having a play and they're, they're on tempo, they're going fast. You take a deep breath and roll, and then really just stress, like have some mental clarity, take a deep breath, and then kind of think about it. Do the exact same thing inside the workplace. And it's something that I had to learn 100%. Like it took me, I'll probably say to my 3rd year in the league before I really kind of was like, okay, I kind of got a grasp on it or whatnot. Oh, wow. And I still feel like I'm like learning it more, but I would say like in general, like, yeah.
Yeah. And something came to mind. My dad would always tell me, in terms of like if there was beef on the team or something, he's like, you don't have to like everyone. In fact, you're probably not going to. If you think about it, like think about teams, like at least 20 teammates. Odds are you're not going to be compatible with everyone, but you are on the team. You do have a focus and a goal, and you got to kind of push it to the side because it's not going to not pass to you because I'm mad at you, or like you're not going to give me a shitty ball and then the whole team's going to suffer. Like, we're not doing that.
We're not doing that.
We're not doing that.
We ain't got time for that. Like,
no.
like we got, because now you put in yourself and y'all's beef above the other, like you said, 20 people on the team, the other 18 people.
Yeah. And then in the work, like if I need to pass something on to you and you have a deadline, if I'm like being petty, this is silly. Like, why would I do this? If you're being petty in a professional setting, your whole team's going to fail. Like that's just no.
And for what? To prove a point?
Yeah.
That's the part that's like, yeah, I'm like, that's the part that's like very interesting to me. And don't get me wrong, to each their own. Obviously, there's sometimes you have to do certain things. But yeah, when you're in that team setting, you really learn. It's like, yo, I'm not going to like everybody, but hey, we can know how to respect each other to get a job done.
Yes.
And the same thing of being like, all right, listen, we know we don't align on this, but we do align on these things. And let's kind of get it on. I think that's like the cool part about sports because you really just, you compartmentalize or whatnot. And then after a while, after you start to work together, you start to find those common ground things. And then it leads into you having a better relationship. Like there's been a lot of teammates I've had that I was like, first week we was playing together, bro, I could not stand them. But by the end of the season, it was like, nah, bro, I don't like the things you do with this, but we both have a mutual respect for each other. Be like, nah, when it comes to this, bro, they're cool people. I'll mess with him with that. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's like, that's the cool part I feel like about sports, right? Is that it kind of gives you time to break down those walls and that stuff. So, yeah.
Yeah. And it is cool because again, there's so many different people, different walks of life, and you all just have like one similar at that time. And then you come to find out the more common interests that you have. But yeah, it's cool. Meet a lot of people through the sport. It's a beautiful thing. I do want to end on the note, if anyone's listening and they're interested in supporting your foundation or getting involved, and could you mention the camp and how people can maybe sign up and whatnot? Okay, so I'll do the camp first, and then we'll talk about, I guess, ways for people to support. So Bees Believers, we're having our 3rd annual Emmanuel Ellerbee Youth Football Camp at Rice University, Saturday, June 29th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. It's for youth ages 7 to 15. It's a free camp. So only thing you have to do is just sign up online on our website or on our Instagram page. We'll take you to the link to go to our Eventbrite on the website as well too. It's a free camp. We'll have NFL athletes that'll be out there as well. Some other NFL vets, from some people from the Texans, probably some other NFL teams as well. And then if you're just interested, if you're a person who wants to speak to students or want to help volunteer, you're a former athlete, or you might not even be a former athlete. You might be a STEAM professional that has a career in sports and might have been a former athlete in high school or college and really want to impart wisdom in the kids. Bees Believers, we have our website. Our email is info@beesbelievers. You can send us an email or you can go on our website page and we have a link where you can link to our contact us page and somebody will reach out. But yeah, we're always we're really just trying to build a community. I think the same way that you're hosting this space, we're able to elevate athletes and be able to give us some platform. I think we're just trying to be able to continue to give students that opportunity to be able to be exceptional in everything, right? Figure out those other things that they like to do. We want them to be great at their sports, right? We recognize that they love that sport, but for them to figure out exactly what happens when that sport ends or when that entertainment industry thing ends as well. Because we have certain students on our program that are actually like musicians, like they play guitar and stuff like that. So we do a lot of stuff for athletics, but we do have a huge portion of that arts degree, that art section, because we believe that everybody should have some form of creativity to them, like some form of arts or whatnot, some way of creative expression, whether it be through the medium of sports or through performative art or visual art or some other type of art. We believe that everybody has a creative aspect. And so, if you are interested in any of that stuff or whatnot, you can always, like I said, our Instagram page, our website,
beesbelievers.org. And yeah.
Dope. Thank you. And I'll tag your stuff below as well.
For sure.
Cool. No, I'm so excited. Thank you again for sharing. I'm hoping to be able to participate in your camp.
For sure. Of course. We're going to have definitely, because you and Hina both have reached out. So I think, so what I'm thinking about doing for that, I guess we can talk about is I really want y'all to do the like cool down.
Oh my
like
God.
Have the kids stretch, like teach them, like take them through like a real quick flow at the end of the camp.
Okay.
And maybe have them like, I was thinking about doing it like in the concourse because the field's going to be too hot.
Mm-hmm.
And so after we finish like setting up, because we'll give them lunch, like they'll get a free lunch and stuff like that. Before they get the free lunch, like maybe we have like a whole bunch of yoga mats, like some cheap ones or something. Or like something like cheap for them to like, or we may not even need yoga mats or whatever.
Yeah. Just
have them do like in the like kind of like little concourse area, like have them do like a cool down stretch to get them off the sun. And we're gonna have like snow cones for them and stuff like that. So like they could do like their little, they'll do the camp, they'll do all this stuff, we'll do our last words. We'll we'll do the camp, have them on the field, then bring them up, have them do like the little cool down stretch or whatnot. And then we'll have like everybody speak to them, like probably you and Hina talk about like recovery. We'll have other people talk about other stuff. Then me give a couple words. Cool. I think that'd be like a cool little way to
that'd
do
be
that.
Awesome.
Yeah, I'm working on I have to do because we're like a month out starting tomorrow because it's 27th, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, by Wednesday. So I'm going to be started because I had everybody reach out. I saw you sent the email and all that stuff or whatnot. And so
I didn't send my email yet.
Oh yeah.
But this is my email. Well, I'm going to send an email.
Yeah, for sure. Now she's on camera. If she doesn't send me an email, we have it here.
I will. It's on my to-do.
Yeah. And if she doesn't to do it, we're going to find her and make sure she does it.
I'll to do it today. Actually,
why she does it tomorrow.
No, whatever. I'll probably do it tomorrow, knowing me.
Yeah. We're going to edit the comment on this post to say that Siobhan never sent her email.
I will send it. I'm a woman of my word. I will say that.
You're on camera. Look into your camera.
I'm a woman of my word, and I'll say it again. And with that being said, if there isn't anything else you'd like to say, the floor is yours. If you want to give a shout out or a little final quote, something or nothing. That was my quote. I feel like
that was my
so
quote.
Serious.
That was my quote.
How many H's so that I can close quote that?
3 and 3 dots at the end. This was a continuing thought.
Okay. Perfect.
No, don't do that. I'll put that under my quote. You got any jokes?
I got a lot of jokes, but they're more improv. I'm not going to give you a knock-knock joke.
I didn't want a knock-knock joke. That would have been cool. Appreciate you coming on to the Mentally podcast. This was great. You were such a great guest today.
This is not another episode where I'm reversed.
Somebody did that to you?
No, well, like a little 5-year-old. She sat here.
And she did that? She was cooking you.
She was. I got roasted on my own podcast, and that's fine.
She was like you almost... Tom Brady had his roast on Netflix. You was like the Tubi version. It was like the Siobhan Tubi version of a roast. It was almost on the same thing, but she was cooking you.
You bet. I know she cooked me. I'm grilled. And by the end of the episode, when we were off air, Mama read her the riot act.
Seriously?
I'm just saying.
Dang, that's crazy. She gonna come back when she get older and she gonna put you on her podcast, bro, and she just gonna go. She gonna cook. And then you're going to have a kid by that time, and then that kid's going to cook her.
And me.
And then
it'll be my karma.
Yeah. It's just this generational curse. It's not playing.
Thank you. Well.
This is great.
Yeah, no more quotes for you.
Yeah, I'm done.
Thank you again for joining us, everyone. That was Emmanuel Ellerbee. I will tag everything that you need to know below about Ellerbee Foundation. What do we call it? I'm so sorry.
Oh, what do we call it? Bees Believers.
Bees Believers. Bees Believers. I love that. Okay, perfect. Thank you guys for listening, and have a great Thursday.
Peace. Oh, this is coming out on Thursday?
Yes.
From the future.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not going to be included. He's going to.
It might now. It's still rolling.
He can cut. He can edit it out.
He can edit it out.
Hey, Emmanuel, if you did not pick up your dry cleaners on Thursday, what is wrong with you, bro? I'm looking at you right now on Thursday and asking you why you didn't pick up your complete dry cleaning. It's Thursday. Why are you doing a podcast? You should be picking up your dry cleaning on Thursday. Also, since you're watching this on Thursday, Emmanuel, just know that I already sent you that email. Please respond in a timely manner. Thank you. Our outlook actually had a crash because they were doing system updates requirements. It was a company-wide thing. If you would have got the email from Microsoft on Wednesday, you would have known you could even send the email to Outlook on Thursday. Come on, bro. If you're going to be in the future, bro, at least keep the timeline straight.
Oh my God. Well, you can't have the last word on my podcast. So we're cutting the cameras now. Happy Thursday, everyone. Goodbye.